The People's Platform.
Good evening and welcome to the People's Platform. My guest tonight is Harinda Fonseka, Senior Volunteer at Sri Lanka Sumitro, here to discuss loneliness in a hyper-connected world. Good evening and welcome to the show, Harinda.
Good evening. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Harinda, Sri Lanka Sumitro operates as one of the key charitable bodies in Sri Lanka, working tirelessly in the mental health paradigm. It's been in operation for 49 years. It'll be celebrating its 50th anniversary. Speak to us about this milestone. Speak to us about the initiatives undertaken thus far. Speak to us about the journey.
Sure. So Sri Lanka Sumitro started in 1974 by a lady, late Mrs. Joan DeMel. She was part of the Samaritans in UK. When she moved to Sri Lanka, she thought that Sri Lankans can benefit from programs such as Samaritans. So the method that we are practicing is befriending. So that is active listening and providing emotional support to those citizens who need our services. We across Sri Lanka, there's 10 centers and 2 rural programs, Colombo South, Panadura, Kandy, Matale, Lunugam, Panduwasnuwara. So all over the country we have our services. We provide our services through either through phone lines as well as face-to-face befriending, and also we provide our services through email as well as WhatsApp chat. Right. So we started WhatsApp during the COVID period. We are getting increasingly calls from Sri Lankans living abroad, right, seeking our services, and we provide them with our services.
Harinda, in a hyper-connected world, people are increasingly feeling the sense of disconnectedness. Although we are surrounded by electronic devices, within, I think, loneliness is starting to become a pandemic. Speak to us about this. I mean, that this is not something that Sri Lanka alone is facing, but the world over, this is being experienced.
That's correct. So in 2017, Japan appointed a minister to address loneliness issue in that country. I believe in 2018, UK government also did the same thing. And about a month ago, the US Surgeon General declared that loneliness was an epidemic in their country. So around the world, we see human beings are feeling lonely. Even in large groups of people, they feel invisible, they feel unheard. It's an interesting paradigm that even though with so many ways to connect with other human beings, people feel unheard and lonely.
If we take the spectrum of emotions, speak to us about it from a gendered point of view, because we see that although women are sometimes able to freely express their emotions in terms of emotions such as tears, emotions like being emotional, men are more prone to expressing emotion through anger, aggression, because being emotional, being vulnerable is thought of as effeminate. Is this how it's reflected, I mean, in a larger sense?
So I personally, from the reading I've done, I've learned a lot regarding how the systems in the world are contributing towards how we view what is acceptable in the world when it comes to expressing our emotions. I just noticed that you use the word women are emotional, and men are not. But also men expressing their emotions through anger and violence, that's also being emotional, one could raise.
Sure.
Right? So I think these things are heavily embedded in our cultural norms, how we see the world, and often these restrictions that we have imposed on human beings, how best to express their emotions or how not to express their emotions, have created more frustrations, and people are increasingly feeling they are unable to make healthy connections. So increasingly we are seeing that violence is rising, whether it's violence against other humans or self-inflicted violence, because people are frustrated.
Right. Let's also talk about this concept of the attention economy, where everyone is trying to monetize our attention. Speak to us about how problematic this is.
So if I ask you the question of how many hours a day do you have?
Everyone has 24 hours?
Correct. So in a digital economy, often most entities are trying to monetize our attention.
Right.
And often what they do, how they do that is trying to get you addicted to their whatever the services or the product that they're offering, right? So if most of the human beings are busy being addicted to whatever that product or that service is, most likely they do not have time to connect with other human beings face to face, in an authentic manner, so to speak. Even if they do connect, they tend to connect through a digital layer.
Right.
So when they do that, we see that a lot of individuals are struggling to express the full range of human emotions. Obviously, it's limited to the text message or the emoji that you send or the like, all these things. And you can put a like or a haha reaction on a post. You don't know whether it's you're being facetious and trying to actually laughing or being facetious in terms of that post. So we are struggling to express our emotions, and in an attention economy, I believe that what Sri Lanka Sumitra is doing is quite noble, because we provide our undivided attention to listen to people's concerns, issues in a non-judgmental way, with empathy, and to provide emotional support.
Let's speak about the youth of Sri Lanka. Youth are increasingly feeling disconnected from the world. A real connection seems to be lacking. What do we do? How do we go about resolving this issue, not just from a personal point of view, but perhaps the state definitely needs to get involved. So in your opinion, what kind of measures must be taken? How do you sort of identify this problem?
I think there are lots of different organizations engaging in activities to try and improve the mental health of all citizens. Often what we see, not only in Sri Lanka, around the world, is that all these different entities are working in silos, and not necessarily working in a cohesive manner to complement each other's actions. There's room for improvement in mental health education. There's room for improvement in encouraging youth to get involved in real life face-to-face activities, whether it's sports or whether it's drama or any type of things. Again, what we are increasingly seeing is that youth are addicted to games or social media or other digital devices, which is limiting them from going out to the world and playing and meeting other human beings, which allows them to actually, if they are out and about, they will be able to learn how to talk to strangers, learn how to talk to make friends, understand that there will be ups and downs with their friends. You cannot just unfriend them and move along. So I think these types of important life lessons are missed opportunities, so to speak. for a lot of the youth, because if you are engaging in interactions through a digital layer, digital bubble, you are able to optimize that bubble to make it a echo chamber, so you are not encountered with differing opinions, so to speak. And if you are engaged, if you are encountered with a differing opinion, often you will put a negative comment or unfriend that person, and off you go. Life is more complicated than that. You have to build patient, meaningful, deeper relationships, and all of these things are affecting our relationships.
Right. So what's the way forward? Because increasingly the world is getting more hyperconnected. There's going to be more machines, more tech.
So we cannot take our way out of this problem. We will have to look at going back to the basics, breaking bread together, having community, focusing on community centers where the community get together, engage in community activities, whether it's volunteering. I must emphasize on the fact that there are volunteers with Sri Lanka Sumitra who have volunteered for over 40 years on a weekly or a bi-weekly basis. Volunteering is a great way to integrate yourself into society, make new friends, work towards something that you're passionate about, finding meaning and purpose through volunteering. That's one big way that people can do that. But also play, sports, games. We are all social animals. Human beings are social animals, and we find happiness often through healthy connections, healthy relationships. And for healthy relationships, you need to have opportunities to engage in person.
We are in conversation with Harinda Fonseka. We go in for a short commercial break. We'll be right back.
The People's Platform.
දේශපාලන පක්ෂ දෙකක අපේක්ෂකයන්ට වැඩිය දැන් තරඟේ තියෙන්නේ තමන්ගේම පක්ෂයේ අපේක්ෂකයෙක් එක්ක.
ඕගොල්ලෝ තමයි ළමයව නරක කරේ. ඔක්කොම එකතු වෙලා ළමයට මේකද අපායක් කරේවා.
ඉතින් ඔයාට මොකද? මෙයා ඔයාගේ වයිෆ්ද? ඔයා ඔයාගේ වැඩක් බලා ගන්නකො. ඔයාට මං ගැනවත් නැති කැක්කුමක් නෙනේ මෙයා ගැන තියෙන්නේ.
මම ඔයාට කව පේජ් එකක් ලෑස්ති කරලා තියෙනවා.
කව පේජ් එකක් කියන්නේ
උඹගේ මනමාලයාත් අද മന്ത്രിතුමාට කිව්වා බොක්කෙන් උදව් කරන්නම් කියලා.
මගේ මනමාලය? ඒ කවුද?
සර්කස් කාරයෝ හෙට රාත්‍රී 8ට සිරස ටෙලිතිරයෙන්.
Executive takes decisions. They implement. And once it fails, they try to put it on Parliament. But you have to understand, you have to say, look at the mirror and say these things. People in this country, they know who is responsible.
Because we saw in that 2015 UMP government, there were behind the scene some sort of deals happening.
I will take the blame. I will go forward and explain the nation why we do this. And I held a media briefing and explained this in detail. We have no choice but to increase fuel prices. Otherwise, there will be
a greater crisis.
Queues. Yeah.
The numbers game, what they have done is a numbers game, but there is no strategy around it.
First time in Sri Lankan history. In this instance, our finance minister, the President Ranil Wickremesinghe, did not introduce a single revenue proposal in this budget.
We didn't get what we expected when it comes to curtailing corruption.
Very clearly, our alliance will lead the elections, give the direction at the next election, come what may.
Face to Face, Newsfirst political talk show, Monday to Friday at 8 p.m. on TV1. TV1. TV for life.
resolution to increase VAT to 18% with effect from the 1st of January passed by a majority vote. 18% VAT on petrol, diesel and LP gas from the 1st of January 2024. Namal disagrees with the resolution to increase VAT. Mahinda supports it. Concerns mount over the death of a police officer that was ruled as a suicide. Postal workers on a token strike.
TV1 TV for life.
ඡන්ද නෑ මොන ඡන්දද අපිට කන්නවත් නැතුව කියන තැනට තමයි ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන්නේ. දැන් මේක හරිද?
දේශපාලනික ව්‍යාකූලතාවයන්ට මිනිස්සු මූණ දීලා ඇති වුණාම මිනිස්සු ඡන්දය දීම කරදරයක් විදිහට හිතන්නේ.
ඕනෑම රටක් ගොඩනංවන්න නම් ඒ රටේ ළමා පරපුරේ සුරක්ෂිතතාවය අපි සලකන්න ඕනේ. මේ රටක දරුවන්ට ස්ත්‍රීන්ට සලකන්නේ නැති රටක් ගැන අපිට කතා කරන්න බෑ.
සමහරෙකුට ඇත්තටම හිතෙන්නට පුළුවන් මේක තමයි මේ හොඳම විසඳුම අර ඇටෙන්ෂන් ගන්න කාට හරි පාඩමක් උගන්වන්න.
වස බිව්වට පස්සේ මැරෙයි. ඊපස්සේ දවස් දෙක තුනක් අපිව පෙට්ටි එක දාලා තියලා ඊට පස්සේ අපිව වල්ලා දාන. පවුලය දානයක් දෙවි සමහරට බිරිඳක් නම් තව කෙනෙක් එක්ක විවාහ වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඔබ ගැන මතකේ ටික ටික ඉවත් වෙලා යනවා.
අපිට පුළුවන් රටේ ලෝකයේ අපේ දකින අත්දකින අත්විඳින බොහෝ දේවල් ජාතික මෙහෙවරතුලින් කතා බහ කරන්න. එය දේශපාලනයේ විය හැකි, ආර්ථිකයේ විය හැකි, කාලීන ප්‍රවණතා විය හැකි.
ජාතික මෙහෙවර සතියේ දිනවල උදෑසන 11ට. Mysteries of the ocean floor. Sea of Sri Lanka. Coming soon. The People's Platform.
Welcome back to the show. We're in conversation with Harinda Fonseka from Sri Lanka Sumitrio. Harinda, we're discussing loneliness in a hyper-connected world. Loneliness is something that disproportionately affects the elderly population across the world, also in Sri Lanka, especially given the fact that there is severe brain drain. People are just leaving the country in throngs. Parents, elders get left behind. And we don't have a mechanism in place. We just don't have a mechanism where these people can connect with their community, with other people, unless they have supportive families. So speak to us about this aspect and what are the challenges, what can we do as a society?
I think we need to ask ourselves as a society, as a civilization, what do we want to achieve as a society? Because often what we are focusing on, growing the economy, growing the GDP. And what happens is that when we are optimizing our actions to achieve one goal like that, we are leaving a lot of other things behind. We are breaking a lot of other things, and we are not responding to them fast enough, and we are leaving lots of people behind. So we do see a lot of elderly populations are feeling lonely. They feel like they have given their heart and soul to the society, and then they find themselves lonely and hungry and not sure exactly how best to add value to the society or how best to navigate through our society. So I think these are things that we as a society need to talk about at a deeper level, at a philosophical level, I would say. Because if we are trying to assign a rupee value or a dollar value to all the services and say, okay, is it worth spending X amount of rupees for this service or not, then we are bound to lose our humanity. You see, as an example, you see some Sri Lankans are going to UK as caretakers to take care of elderly population in UK, and they themselves might be forced to leave their parents behind, leaving them alone, in order to try and find economic refuge in a different country.
Right.
So it's like musical chairs. We are moving people around, and whoever that has the most amount of money gets human interaction. And I think we will need to have deeper discussions about these things. How best are we going to address these issues with economic challenges and demands lots of families are facing right now? If they are forced to work longer hours, if both parents are forced to work, the children might feel lonely. And is that the ideal world we want? I don't know. I think a lot of these points we would need to discuss how it would affect our mental health.
So it's a balancing act, and also it's about prioritizing.
Yeah, it is prioritizing, and often what gets prioritized is what's economically profitable, not necessarily healthy relationships.
Sure. So something that we've focused on throughout this conversation has been forging healthy relationships, healthy connections. How do we move towards that? Because see, the thing is, Harinda, these aren't tangible. There isn't a course you can do, or there isn't a gown you can wear and instantly be able to forge healthy relationships, healthy connections. It's a deeply personal journey, also societal. So what do we do? Because we know that increasingly people are terribly disconnected, terribly lonely. So what's the way forward?
So if you think of a forest, what makes a forest thrive? You need air, you need a healthy soil, you need trees, you need animals, you need sunlight, right?
The full ecosystem.
Full ecosystem. And you would see that trees actually communicate and exchange nutrients through their roots, right? During the summer, larger trees absorb the sunlight, pass it on to the shorter trees, and during winter some of these smaller trees and shrubs will absorb the sunlight and pass it to the large trees. So it's a symbiotic relationship, right? Every living being has a role to play. Now if you were to think of a house plant, the house plant is at the mercy of the caretaker. If there's not enough sunlight, somebody needs to move the house plant towards sunlight. Somebody will have to put the fertilizer, somebody would have to put the water. And I think increasingly human beings are becoming houseplants.
Right.
And they are at the mercy of something else to provide those nutrients.
Okay.
Not necessarily having those connections through other human beings. So if we were to look at the entire system, so to speak, we humans over the last almost 10,000 years have created systems that are hostile towards life, thriving life, and there's research showing that in the 70s, this is when a lot of people started feeling the effects of loneliness and mental health. And some researchers talk about the fact that it was due to some of the economic changes, extreme consumerism. All these things are interconnected, and what I would like to raise to the audience as your viewers is that we cannot fix one thing and just think everything will get fixed.
Sure.
It's everything we will have to improve to the best of our abilities, because all these mechanisms, all these systems are interdependent, interconnected. We are all interconnected. And that's one strong message I would like to leave with your viewers today.
All right. Thank you very much, Harinda Fonseka, Senior Volunteer, Sri Lanka Sumitrio. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching us. We'll see you again tomorrow. Good night.